Hello everyone and welcome back to the final Dominaria United Limited set review. We'll be going over Mythics today. Before we go into this, I do want to ask everybody to please like and subscribe and comment on the videos. This was a lot of work putting it together, and I put together 3 videos today to make sure that we get it in time for the pre-release as well as in time for the launch on MTG Arena. So if you can please take a second to go ahead and do that to the rest of the videos that are in my playlist up above here, that would be very much appreciated. And without further ado, let's get into the Mythic reviews. Alright, so up first we have Shivan Devastator. For X and a red, you get a 0/0 Dragon Hydra creature with flying and haste. Shivan Devastator enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. This is a good card that scales with the game. I just give this a B. Hopefully, you don't have to play this early. You can when you have no other plays, and it's fine. But hopefully, as the game goes on, you can just throw this out at the very end, flying haste, go right over all their creatures, and end the game with it. But it's nice to have the flexibility that scales with the game. It's a B. Up next, we have Weatherlight Completed. It's 2 mana for a 5/5 vehicle legendary artifact. It's flying. As long as Weatherlight Completed has 4 or more Phyresis counters on it, it's a Phyrexian creature in addition to its other types. Whenever a creature you control dies, put a Phyresis counter on Weatherlight Completed, then draw a card if it has 7 or more Phyresis counters on it. If it doesn't, scry 1. So this is interesting. We have a vehicle that isn't crewable, so its crewing is its completedness, right? It's not a creature yet. You know, you can't just put this down and start defending and attacking with it. You need 4... basically creatures to die to make 4 or more Phyresis counters be put on it to make it a creature. It is nice that down the line it can also draw you a card as enough creatures die. And in the meantime, you get to scry 1. With all that, I think that this comes out to being kind of like a C. It's definitely playable. It's not cheap because you have to have your creatures die. But it does replace itself later, too. I think this is about a C, but this is a weird one to grade, and we'll see how this performs. I'm never really cutting this from my deck. It's just how strong does this really pull me in over other cards I could be picking? That's really the question. I'll start with a C, but I don't doubt that I'll be likely to come up on it throughout the course of the set. Up next, we have Karn Silex. 3 mana for a legendary artifact. Karn Silex enters the battlefield tapped. Players can't pay life to cast spells or to activate abilities that aren't mana abilities. Interesting, it shuts down the Phyrexian mana approach. X mana, tap, exile Karn Silex, destroy each non-land permanent with mana value X or less, activate only as a sorcery. Alright, so we have a board wipe. I've told you many times that I do not like board wipes that wipe your side of the board as well. That said, this does give a decent amount of control over what it wipes out, so you can set this up well to impact your opponent, but not you. With all that, I think I would give this a C+. That's my grade. Up next, we have Liliana of the Veil. 1 black for a 3 loyalty Liliana legendary planeswalker. Put +1 loyalty counter on it. Each player discards a card. -2 loyalty counters. Target player sacrifices a creature. And -6, separate all permanents target player controls into 2 piles. That player sacrifices all permanents in the pile of their choice. Alright, so at the very least, this is a 3 mana, make the opponent discard a card, gain 4 life, right? Because planeswalkers, they're not going to want to keep these around living for too long. But it's clearly better in that over time you can make it discard more, you can get them to sacrifice a creature, and even better, if you can ultimate this, you destroy half their permanents. So I like this card a lot. I don't think this is a clear bomb, but we're getting as close as you can get without being a bomb. I think this is a B+. Up next, we have Shauna, Purifying Blade. For green, white, blue, you get a 3/3 human warrior legendary creature. It has lifelink. At the beginning of your end step, you may pay X. If you do, draw X cards. X can't be greater than the amount of life you gain this turn. This is good, but the mana is costly to pay green, white, blue. And you really need this to survive to be effective. So, yes, the lifelink plays into this card. You can do the drawing, up to 3 cards, right? But if it dies in combat before you can have this activate, it doesn't help you. So with all this, I think it's bad enough to not be a pull into these colors, but it's still a good card. I'll give this a C+. Up next, we have Zer Eternal Schemer. For white, blue, black, you get a 1/4 human wizard legendary creature with flying. Enchantment creatures you control have Death Touch, Lifelink, and Hexproof. Pay 1 and a white, target non-aura enchantment you control becomes a creature in addition to its other types, and has base power and base toughness, each equal to its mana value. I really see this as a constructed card. I think this plays out as like a D in limited. Not really meant for limited. Up next, we have a Johnny Sleeper Agent. 1 green, Phyrexian green, white, in white. It's a 4 loyalty, a Johnny Legendary Planeswalker. It has completed, so that Phyrexian green, white, you can pay green, white, or just pay 2 life. But if you pay 2 life, it enters with 2 fewer loyalty counters. Get +1 loyalty, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature or planeswalker card, put it into your hand. Otherwise, you may put it on the bottom of your library. -3 to distribute 3 +1/+1 counters among up to 3 target creatures. They gain vigilance until end of turn. And then -6, you get an emblem with whenever you cast a creature or planeswalker spell, target opponent gets 2 poison counters. Okay, so poison counters, for those that don't know, because this is the first time it's coming on up in the set, and I think, the only time it comes up in the set. If an opponent has 10 poison counters on them, that's a lose condition right there, or a win condition for you. So, I mostly like this card for the fact that it draws cards, and is effectively another gain life being a planeswalker. Distributing counters is a nice option to have. Gives them vigilance, and that's a decent option. The poison counters will come up sometimes, but it takes a little while for that to happen. And I will say, if you do ultimate this to get the emblem for the poison, you probably want to have 7 counters on this such that it doesn't die, because you're going to want that reveal the top card, the +1 ability on it, to draw creatures and planeswalker spells to help feed into that poison counter. So this could take a while to do, but I do think there will be games that is decided by that. With all this, I'm not as high on this as I was Liliana. I think this is a B-. It'll definitely pull me into these colors, but it's not, anywhere near bomb level in my mind. Up next, we have Jaya Fiery Negotiator. For 2 red, you get a 4 loyalty Jaya Legendary Planeswalker that has +1 loyalty, create a 1/1 red monk creature token with prowess. -1, exile the top 2 cards of your library, choose one of them. You may play that card this turn. -2, choose target creature and opponent controls. Whenever you attack this turn, Jaya Fiery Negotiator deals damage equal to the number of attacking creatures to that creature. -8, you get an emblem with whenever you cast a red instant or sorcery spell, copy it twice. You may choose new targets for the copies. Alright, so that's a lot of good options. They're all good. You can really pick and choose what you need here. It's kind of a Swiss Army knife of planeswalkers. I have this as a B. Reading through it again, I'm contemplating moving this up to a B+, but I think I'll stick right now with this being a B. Very strong card, will definitely pull me into red. Up next, we have Karn Living Legacy, 4 colorless for a 4 loyalty Karn Legendary Planeswalker. It has +1 loyalty to create a tapped Power Stone token, so it's an artifact with tap it to add a colorless, but that mana can't be spent to cast a non-artifact spell. It can be used for anything else, though. Keep that in mind. -1, pay any amount of mana. including from the Power Stones. You look at that many cards from the top of your library, then put one of those cards into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. And then -7, you get an emblem with tap and untapped artifact you control. This emblem deals 1 damage to any target. So the Power Stones really help with both. I would basically be +1ing this all along the way, and then ultimating it, because that ultimate, having Power Stones to constantly deal damage as you like every single turn is powerful. Although the draw card is a nice backup if you need something. And who knows, maybe I'm underrating that. It's only -1. So I like this card a lot. Yeah, I'll give this a B+. I don't think it's a broken bomb, but it's very strong. B+. Up next, we have a Zer Paragon. For 2 white, you get a 3/4 flyer. Once during each of your turns, you may play a land from your graveyard or cast a permanent spell with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard. If you do, it gains when this permanent is put into a graveyard from battlefield, exile it, and you gain 2 life. Wow. 3/4 flyer for 4, great. Ability to play lands from your graveyard, fine. Being able to play a permanent spell of 3 mana or less from your graveyard to get that back, awesome. And then if it dies, you gain 2 life? Alright, there's nothing but we can say on this but bomb. Again, the fact, I really do judge my cards when I go to bombs on A's or better, basically need to effectively have all their power right up front, or like give you some card advantage up front. The fact that somebody could just kill this right after it comes into play is enough to make me not give this an A, but I can't do anything but at least an A-. It's too good of a card. A- it is. Up next, we have Sheoldred the Apocalypse, 2 black for a 4/5 Phyrexian Praetor legendary creature. It has Death Touch. Whenever you draw a card, you gain 2 life. Whenever an opponent draws a card, they lose 2 life. Alright, so this doesn't give the card advantage, but a 4/5 Death Touch for 4 is an above rate creature by far, and the ability is backbreaking. I mean, every single time the turn is going between you and your opponent, it's a 4 mana life swing, or 4-point life swing. That's going to run away real quickly. I can't give this anything but a bomb. I'll still stick to what I just said in the last one. I won't give this an A, but A- for sure. Up next, we have Soul of Windgrace. It's 1 black, red, green for a 5/4 cat avatar legendary creature. Whenever Soul of Windgrace enters the battlefield or attacks, you may put a land card from your graveyard onto the battlefield tapped under your control. You can pay a green to discard a land and gain 3 life. You can pay 1 and a red, discard a land to draw a card. Or you can pay 2 and a black, discard a land card. Sorry, these are always land cards you're discarding. Soul of Windgrace gains indestructible until end of turn, tap it. So, this is a really good card. 5/4 for 4 is above rate. One thing I want to say is what you'll want to do with this card is attack with it. Let the trigger happen for the being able to put a land card from the graveyard onto the battlefield tapped under your control, and then the 2 black discard a land card. You'll give it indestructible and then be able to put that on the battlefield. At least I think that's how that should work. That makes sense for the trigger, yeah. So that, keep that in mind. This gives you a lot of options. Originally, when I graded this, I graded a B+, and in my mind, it wasn't discard a land card, it was discard any card, so it definitely goes down by discarding a land card quite a bit. And I'm going to give this a B- now. It pulls me into that, but I didn't realize it needed to be land cards each time for some reason. Long day today. But B- sounds right for that. Up next, we have Vesuvin Diplomacy. 3 and a blue for an enchantment. Whenever you cast a spell that targets only a single artifact or creature you control, create a token that's a copy of that artifact or creature, except it's not legendary. I don't think there's enough to pull this off. You mostly have tricks targeting a single creature you control. You might play this in your blue-green with enough tricks, but it does cost you a whole card up front just to get the copy. So you need to be able to have this trigger multiple times for it to be advantageous to you. Really, I see this as a D. I'm really not looking to play it because I don't want to play a billion tricks in my deck. But I think this is a constructed card, but I'll give it a D. Up next, we have Jodah the Unifier. You play Wooburg. You get a 5/5 Human Wizard legendary creature. Legendary creatures you control get +X/+X, where X is the number of legendary creatures you control. Whenever you cast a legendary spell from your hand, exile cards on the top of your library until you exile a legendary non-land card with lesser mana value. You may cast the card without paying its mana cost. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. This is too hard to play, and the payoff isn't big enough. I'm just going to give this a D. So we had a couple of Ds in a row. Now I think this will be fresh for a new grade. Rith, Liberated, Primeval. You have 2 red, green, white for a 5/5 dragon legendary creature. It has flying. It has ward 2. Other dragons you control have ward 2. At the beginning of your end step, if a creature or planeswalker an opponent controlled was dealt excess damage this turn, create a 4/4 red dragon creature token with flying. Giving excess damage to an opponent's creature sometime during your turn, ideally during combat to be easiest, and then playing this post-combat and having this trigger end of turn, it's not hard to do that. This most often will be a 5/5 flying ward 2 and a 4/4 flying ward 2 for 5. And then it just has potential down the line, too, to trigger again and give you more 4/4 flying dragons. This is a bomb. This is a bomb that meets the definition of the card advantage I was talking about earlier, getting card advantage right away. I'm giving this an A. First A in the set. Up next, we have Silverback Elder. For 2 green, 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 you get a 5/7 Ape Shaman creature. Whenever you cast a creature spell, choose one. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may put a land card from among them onto the battlefield tapped. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order, or you gain 4 life. Early on, the land ability is not bad to be able to ramp up a bit more. It's nice that you have the option for artifact or enchantment, but the mode that intrigues me most is the gaining 4 life. Because if you're gaining 4 life every time you cast a creature spell, that gets out of control pretty quickly as well. I don't think this is an outright bomb, but 5/7 to begin with for 5, with all these options, I think this is a strong card. B+ this is. Up next, we have Canard the Tainted. This was a Legends card that got a new take and some added power in this set. For 2 blue, black, red, you get a 5/5 Elemental Demon legendary creature. At the beginning of your end step, choose one that hasn't been chosen. Draw a card. Each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Canard the Tainted deals 3 damage to up to 1 other target creature or planeswalker, or exile Canard and then return it to the battlefield under an opponent's control. Alright, this again meets the definition of 2 for 1 on the same turn. 5/5 for 5, fine rate. But end of your turn, you will be able to pick your choice here, like draw a card, deal 3 damage to something. This is a bomb. And as you have new turns, it just spins out of control. This is an A, second A in the set. Up next, we have Sphinx of Clear Skies. For 3 blue, blue, you get a 5/5 flying ward 2 with domain. Whenever Sphinx of the Clear Skies deals combat damage to a player, reveal the top X cards of their library, where X is the number of basic land types among lands you control. An opponent separates those cards into 2 piles. Put 1 pile into your hand and the other into your graveyard. 5/5 flying ward 2 for 5, great. The domain effect here, typically you'll have 2 to 3, so the piles will be 1 and 1 or maybe 2 and 1. And it's great that, you know, your next turn basically you'll be able to draw a card likely. That's nice. So this is a repeating 2 for 1. It does take a little bit of work and time before that 2 for 1 happens, so I'm not going to give it the A, but I will give this an A-. Up next, we have Timeless Lotus. For 5 colorless, you get a legendary artifact that enters the battlefield tapped, but when you tap it, you get Wooburg. I'm not into getting my mana this way for my different colors, but in a pinch it can be done. I can see this being playable. I still relegate this as filler, though. I think this is a D. Lastly, for our Mythics and for the whole set, we have the World spell. For 5 green, you get a Saga with read ahead. Chapters 1 and 2 are look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may reveal a non-Saga permanent card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in random order. Chapter 3 is put up to 2 non-Saga permanent cards from your hand onto the battlefield. Alright, so this is a way to go up in mana with Chapter 3. For 7 mana, you can play 2 cards from your hand that are hopefully more than 7 mana. But really, this is more of a draw to of your best cards for 7. I think that's a relatively good card. I don't think it's enough to pull me into green. This is just quite expensive. I mean, you definitely want to be playing this if you can fit it into your sealed deck, for instance. Like, its sealed deck is slower, and this is a slower card, and it's powerful. But I think I would not pick this extremely highly. At least it's not a pull into green. So I think the power is C+ level. I'm giving it a C+. And that is the full Dominaria United set. As we go into future videos, I will be covering the high-level vision as well. What are the archetypes will be coming up next, as well as probably have some episodes where I hear a bit of the differences between my gradings I gave and what other content creators have given. Again, I gave all my grades without listening to any other content creators, so now I've just freed myself up to be able to listen to them. But I do have quite a bit of experience of doing these kind of reviews for myself personally, and it is a big part of what has driven me to be able to hit Mythic on the different drafts, and I highly encourage you to do the same type of grading on your own if this is your first time seeing one of those gradings. It really helps you become a better Magic player. And stay tuned for the future gameplay that I'll be showing for this. I'll be drafting Dominaria United a lot on MTG Arena, and I'll also just be going over some strategy level videos as well. I like to both play and review play and look into how I can get better as a player over the course of the set. A lot of that has been enhanced by using 17 lands. It's a software program that I highly recommend you install. Don't let it intimidate you. There is a lot of numbers in there and different ways to see things, but at the very least, it's a good way to track your own play, to see what your win rate is and what kinds of decks you've been building, and share draft logs. I will be posting all of these gradings on 17 Lands itself. It's an easy way on a board to see across the board what are the A's, A minuses, B pluses, all the way down in all the different colors. So I'll be posting my link to that so you can review. And when you have that link, you can also set on 17 Lands a comparison of tiers. You can put my link in, you can put your tiers in, and you can compare what cards we differ the most in by how many grade levels is it jumped. So that's a great way to see where you are missing some understanding or where I've completely missed some understanding myself. It's a great way to get other opinions and see where the differences of opinion lie. So with that, I think that's the closure of the set review. And I want to thank everybody again. Please like and subscribe, comment down below. I love the engagement. It's really what keeps me going. So please do that. I appreciate it. And until the next time, bye-bye.